and that these festival organizers, these general industry people see as something that has numbers, that has potential to bring money, that's when they start making a change. That's when they start making a wave. But us as music lovers, we look at it and we're like, you know, it's about the music. Nah, bro, it's not about the music. The music is just a part of the whole machine and the whole structure.
Yeah, that's true. So, funny we did not do the introduction.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't, bro. Take it away, please.
All right, what's up, people? It's the New Live podcast hosted by yours truly, Nuve Sean, or Nuve Sean, depending on how you say it. Sean, your host, co-founder.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ajo, and you're listening to Nuve Live podcast, Hip Hop All Day, Hip Hop Uganda, hosted by your main man, Nuve Sean. You can also catch him on nuvelive.org. That's nuvelive.org. So what's up?
So yeah. If you create something, right?
Right.
You hope that anyone can tap into it. You hope for someone to tap into it.
Right.
So what happens if the audience that you intended, you intended to, market yourself to? What happens if you've conquered that audience? What do you do next?
Right. Right, man.
So when I look at what that Malcolm guy has, he's trying to reach all these audiences at the same time using different sounds, but at the heart of all these different sounds, there is the rap within it. You cannot run away from it, and there is nothing wrong with it. It's the purists who say no, this ain't.
Like you're part of hip hop. Primarily, you love Ugandan music, okay? But I feel like your heart is in hip hop, man.
Because that's where I saw there is a gap for a long time. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of UJ hip hop, but it doesn't mean I don't actually listen to any other sound. It's You know what's so funny? Before this interview, I listened to the feedback, the retouch session. Listen to like part of your work so that I can get in the headspace. Then after that, I actually was spinning the Zulitan's album in Vicstars. I didn't listen to it when it dropped.
Right.
My love for UG hip hop makes me want to, explore other sounds. As a writer, I need to know what's out there for me to make should I say judgment based on facts. Yeah.
Right.
Not sentiments.
Because bro, I'll tell you this that I've come to realize in this hip hop space. For sure, there are very many rappers who start off doing what they're doing and they stick to it, yeah. But a very real life cycle that I started realizing is very many guys start off wanting to rap because that's what we listen to growing up. That's what if you listen to a lot of popular music internationally is now hip hop primarily, and then everything else finds a way into it. But like, it's been the most popular music worldwide for the last 10 years or so, numbers on the board. But you keep seeing rappers doing this thing where they come through and they start off rapping. And then over time, they decide, man, you know what, I'm going to pull a bit of a Drake, you know what I mean? I'm going to pull a bit of a Drake and start singing a little bit and start going a bit more pop. Whereas back in the day, it used to be a thing of okay, if you're a rapper and you want to go mainstream, you feature singers, right? You find the best R&B acts and what, you invite them onto the track, you continue doing your rap thing, and then they come through, they sing, they give you that balance. But now I see it a lot more, even in our own game here, whether it's people like Lagom or Drills or so many guys who start off being rappers, eventually seem to transition into that space of something a bit more poppy, I don't know if you've noticed that as well, bro, but I think that's definitely also something that's a process that I'm in as well,
I can testify to that. Way before Lagoon changed his name to Lagoon, he was lyrics, you know.
Lyrics. I love it.
Yeah.
Bro,
That's
you're the guy who knows everyone's stage name before they are who they are right now. You have those receipts, eh?
yeah, because I'm the guy who will tell their story when they're on the come up, right? Because we didn't have specific media, you know, for the genre particularly. Though of course I'm growing and thinking of, you know, expanding into other things. But at the heart of it all, you didn't find anyone really covering UJ hip hop that much. And that's when we started the platform that way. You know, it all started out as my management space, you know, and all that.
But bro, Sean, I want to ask you honestly, given that, do you think there is space for hip hop in UG's mainstream?
Plenty of that space.
Tell me, what has made you that's possible?
What has made what?
What has made you feel like that is possible? Where do you think that there is that space for hip hop? Because me, I see rappers transitioning elsewhere in order to find that space in the mainstream. So for you, how do you see?
Because you already have the most mainstream artists in UG are actually rappers, but the urban kids don't want to embrace them.
Okay. Like who? Tell me.
Figma Maker at heart is actually a rapper.
Okay. I see what you mean. Because even when you listen to his lyrics and how he puts together his thing, you can tell he puts it together like a rapper does. You know, he's writing bars and punchlines and what.
That's the difference between making a rap song and making a hip hop song that appeals to everyone. And that's the element that most people don't have. We're not in the 90s, man. We're not in the 80s, bro, where you're supposed to be hardcore, you know, hardcore trying to prove that you can rap. You know, that phase is gone. We can save that for the battles. We can save that for, you know, mixtapes, because even the mixtapes are dead. I remember way back, not so way back, but 5 years ago, mixtapes were a thing. Price was dropping a mixtape almost after a year or something, and people were dropping mixtapes. I came off mixtapes culture. Actually, the way my journey is weird. When I made the mixtape, I was transitioning. You know, I wanted to like distribute it, and I didn't know who to support me. No one was paying attention. I'm like, nah, I think let me start my. It's more like the Nas story. Start your own label and sign yourself. You get that? Hello? Did you get that?
Sorry, yeah. Hello? Sean, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, yeah, man. Yeah, you're in the mixtape space and you realize, like, man, the best way to communicate with guys.
Yeah, start your own platform, start your own label and sign yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
and that's really like the journey. So why do I say there is still a chance? You know, we have to embrace these other guys, because I had a conversation some time back with someone. These other guys that we look at, can you get me?
Sorry?
You're off. Can you get me?
I'm here, and you're saying we need to reconnect with guys who are with these other guys. Who are these other guys?
We definitely have to embrace them. You know, like how you look at these the Fefe Boosies and all that.
Right.
Hold up. Let me just check something here. Just give me a second.
What did you get?
So
there,
I
bro?
was, eh? I know it's
What did
just
you get?
juice. Eh? It's just juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
So
everyone got a juice there after COVID, bro. After lockdown, everyone got that guy who sends like a concoction every day.
yeah, man, health is wealth.
Yeah. But bro, yeah, you were saying like you feel the need for us to incorporate more of these guys, and you started mentioning like Fefe Busi and the likes.
Yeah. Tell me he's not a rapper.
Sincerely, Fefe Busi is one of the best freestylers like in this game, bro.
Exactly. So this for a long time, people have these guys say that it's under this and that, right?
Right.
But you see, what we should have done in the beginning was to embrace these guys, because if you look at like Jeezy, he's doing the R&B, but rap still owns him. You know, they still claim ownership. They say this is our guy, and these guys do alternative rap. It's not. So do you want them to sound like who? Nas?
Exactly.
This is Uganda, bro.
Man, I was having this conversation with Sevilla, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was having a chat with Sevilla, because Sevilla is also very much an elder statesman in the game when it comes to hip hop and rap and whatnot. And we're just talking about kind of the new guys that we're listening to right now, right? So me, I'm telling him about Mark Meek and C. Dave Honcho and Dennis and Conrad and Akine and all these guys. As those are the guys that I'm seeing as the next chapter, the future guys, the guys who are going to make it big. And it was like, bro, as the last generation of guys who are making music on that level and who are operating in the game on that level, it was like, man, it's actually a big loss that there wasn't that connection between the older guys in the game and these kind of newer guys in the game who are making these different breakthroughs, And for him, he was coming from a place of saying, like, as a hip hop guy, there was a very big emphasis on people coming through those particular structures and being hip hop guys. And like, like the gatekeepers would be like, bro, you're not going to make it if you can't drop a hot 16 on hot 100, if you can't come through for a rap battle. Like, that's how you build up your clout and your place in the community. I was like, bro, none of these young kids care about that stuff, None of these young kids,
exactly.
like they just want to have a good time. Like, even if many of them start off rapping and wanting to, you listen to what they're making and what they're putting out right now, and it's very much in tune with, I think, what a big part of the Ugandan audience and especially younger people want to listen to right now. But it's also not beholden to like hip hop, You can tell many of these guys can rap, but you can also tell that's not where it's not their religion. Let me put it like that.
Yeah, you see, you cannot put a cap on what someone's artistry, right?
Right.
Because even rap in itself has different subgenres, right? You have the drill. Right now, drill is taking over the UK. And shout outs to who? Wonder JR.
Yeah, man. Shout out to
He's
Ganzi,
big on the drill sound right now.
Conrad. Yeah, man.
Yes. I tell you a funny story. I met Dennis like I think 4 years ago at Flex the Papers. More is it not for sale mixtape? Yeah.
Okay.
And he wasn't the Dennis I see right now. He's hungry for this whole thing, but he wasn't yet. I no disrespect, ready. As a creator, because I remember him. I actually reached out to him because I liked what he was doing, and I was like, "Yo, here's my number, bro. I'm from Nouvelle Live. So we do this, we write about this, and that. Here's my number. You can always send me your project." I reached out to him because I liked what they had done. But there are those things that you request from an artist sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily an artist, but you need to have like the APK.
Right.
the electronic press kit. That stuff is still important. At that time, I feel he wasn't yet maybe aware of these things, but you find most of these kids learn from the job. And the frustration that they have is because when they started out, probably no one sort of helped them since them, or it's up to them, man. If you don't want to learn like what should be done, then I mean, it's always up to you. The frustration always goes to you. Seek the info.
And bro, that's so interesting because honestly, that's so interesting because honestly, bro, Dennis now for me has become over the last like year or 2 years, bro. It's been a very big source of guidance for me when it comes to some of those things that you feel like you have to be in the thing to know. You know what I mean? Like knowing what to do with your Google header image. You know what I mean? How do you reclaim that image and how do you whatever? Those are tips that I've gotten from Dennis, who like definitely a lot has changed since you last met him.
Yeah, a lot, with the Bantu vibes and all that. Man. Because I met him with his friend, I think he's Manly or something. I don't know. He probably wouldn't remember this story, but I remember trying to put him on.
Right. Bro, I think I met him around the same time as well, bro. I was doing a whole different act. I was going around as Mr. Mankwa, jumping up on stage shirtless with a cabaret on my head, trying to look like a new age Major Lazer. You know that Major Lazer cartoon with the beard and the beret and the guns? That was my whole mode of a Mr. Mankwa look. So those guys booked me for, actually Benezeri of the clan booked me for the clan meeting that was happening at Tavern Breeze. And Bantu Vibes were organizing the show. They were a big part of the act. FIFA Maker was headlining that night. And I came through to open, right? I came through as an opening act. Now, I remember the person that I came through with as an opening act was a rapper. He's a rapper. He's a guy that I knew in the game. I wouldn't say we were friends, but I knew this guy. We had done a bit of work together. And I was like, yo, dude, like, I don't have like a road show right now. I don't have a permanent DJ. I don't have a permanent like hype man. I don't have like these few essentials. But like, come through. I have this gig. I'll hype man for you if you hype man for me. I'll do my bits first. You do your bits after that. And I'll come through and just back you up as you need, right? So the clan meeting was a lot more of like a hip hop show, right? Like you listen to like all the vibes and most of the guys that came through were rapping. Now me and this guy, we hit the stage and he came from that background of being a rapper, being like a battle rapper, very confrontational vibes, blah, 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 blah. So we do a sound check earlier in the day, we do a rehearsal, and then we get onto stage. And this was the first time that I met Dennis and Manly and all those guys. So we get onto stage and I start doing my tracks. But contrary to what we had rehearsed with this guy, he just stops in the middle of the stage, right? He just stops in the middle of the stage and starts taking his sunglasses off. Have you ever seen that thing that Michael Jackson did at the NFL, like halfway show, where like he told guys, don't play the music until I take my sunglasses off. So this nigga starts taking his glasses off very slowly and very dramatically. The music has started, bro. So me, I jump into it. I start doing my thing, but I'm not getting the backup that we had discussed, right? So I turn around and I see this guy like hogging the attention pretty much for himself. And I was like, this fucker, man. This fucker. And it's only later on that I realized, man, on a cultural level, man, there's so many guys also who came from that hip-hop background, who came from that game where like, bro, things were very, very political. Things were very, very, it's either you or me. You know what I mean? There wasn't that collective thing of like, bro, we can all make it. We can all like go further. It was like, it's either you or me, And like, yeah, I've hesitated to, I've never really worked with that guy again in that capacity. That relationship was ruined. But I feel like we're now in a very different time where for sure people are still competitive and still want to do well and do better. But I also feel like, like that culture is not as much a thing for us anymore,
You see, for a long time we competed within the culture, right? But let's check the competition to the other genres. That's me where my problem is. You know,
Right.
if there is a headline in any local tabloid, why isn't that headline having at least maybe a nav or a lagoon, you know, close to
Right.
it? You see,
Right.
we are still a niche when
Yeah.
it
We're
comes to
crabs in
the
a barrel,
whole
man.
yeah, you say that,
We're crabs in a
but
barrel,
it
just
can go,
biting, eating each other.
yeah,
But also, man,
and
I think, bro, the thing is also like this thing is very competitive. This life thing, this music thing is very competitive. It's very
highly,
political. Everyone is trying to get a certain amount of power, a certain amount of success, blah, blah, blah. And I think we're still in a place right now where we're not making money like that, bro. You know what I mean? Like we're not yet at that point where like we can be competing amongst ourselves. Either you make it or I make it. Now, bro, like we need to get to that point where as a movement and as a collective, we are so far ahead, you know, that the spoils are all ours. Now we're just dividing the spoils amongst ourselves. You know what I mean? But when we start
yeah.
fighting, man, I feel like there's only so far we can go as a wave, you know, because me, I might see myself as just myself, but the Ugandan audience sees us as a wave that's coming.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
So I was trying to say, do you believe me that the game reset itself a couple years ago?
When do you feel like it reset itself?
2015 to 16.
Okay. What happened in 2015, man? Tell me. Because
Then
sometimes you can just
came
be in the vibes, but you don't notice the milestones. What happened in 2015, man?
2015 was like the peak. There was a lot of events happening, usually hip hop events, like here
Right.
and there. To
Right.
2016, right? Like so, like
Right.
almost every weekend, because I was involved with some of those events, Gabiro, Hip Hop Invitation, and on Facebook there was a huge hip hop group that was so vibrant, but it died
Right.
out slowly. It was at its peak
Right.
in 2015, and then around that time
Right.
came you know the feats, okay, and people
Uh-huh.
started rejecting him just because he came you know doing other people's songs. But I thought the mixtape culture allows you to do that, you know.
Right. Who is this? Sorry, come again. Who is this?
Big maker.
Oh, okay. So there was a backlash against him when he first came in the game.
Yeah, around that time from the purists, right? But you
Right.
see, what these guys understand is what the audience wants.
Yeah,
You, of
man.
course, you're not going to sell out, but you see,
Yeah.
the bills have to be paid. You know,
Yeah,
so
man.
if you
Yeah.
find a way, you still don't sell out, but you still
Yeah.
sell the projects. You know, there is a difference
Yeah.
between you know selling out and selling the project. The last
Yeah.
two songs from um, this guy, what's his name? We just talked about him. The Fefe
If a
Busi.
pussy.
The last two
Yeah,
songs,
man.
the last two songs he put out are hardcore, you know,
Yeah,
but he
bro.
finds a way. He finds a way to put in melody because that's how Pac got to sell records. That's how Biggie got to sell records. That's how
Yeah.
Jigga got to sell records. That's how Keiko actually broke through. There
Yeah.
were melodies
Yeah,
because
man.
you know
Yeah, man.
if you want to do the straight bars, right, there is a
Yeah.
small fan base for that, and there is nothing wrong with it. But you see, there is a difference between making a rap and making a song,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
that's where the problem is. But
100%, man.
the
You,
game
you know how I see it,
reset.
bro. Yeah.
Mm,
You know how I see it, bro. Me, I see it like when you look at like a church, right? And the church usually has it has the pastors, it has the deacons, it has the guys who are within the thing, right? And very often you find that the people who are in power in the church, right, are people who there's a way that the thing is, there's a way that they have positioned themselves, there's a way that they have become the face of the thing as it is, right? And sometimes you find yourself in a position where younger people coming up in the church now start feeling like, man, okay, they still want to go there for the spiritual reasons, but there's something more that they're looking for in the thing, a way of thinking, a way of doing, a way of praising, a way of worshiping, blah, 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 right? And you find that the natural progression always ends up being that there will be a young choir member or a young pastor or whatever who break away from the bigger church and create a smaller thing. But that thing actually will appeal to many more of the younger people, and they'll be able to build that audience. And me, that's why I see hip hop being right now, or see even just like this urban music thing being right now, where I think what happened is you had these guys who they had their thing, you know, they'd set up this hip hop infrastructure, they'd set up this way of things looking and being. And as you say, the younger guys, the FIFA makers came through, the Fefe Busis came through wanting to do their thing differently. And guys were like, nah, not in our church, not in this, you know? And the truth is, most of the congregation is not that attached to like some of these things that the deacons think are very, very important. And I think like, yeah, we're just in a different church now. And I think that's just the circle of life, you know? One day we'll be the old guys who people will be looking at saying, man, it used to be nice, but yeah, we're looking for something new. God forbid, but that's the circle of life, bro.
Look at who JNL. You know, his last album, The Sphere. It's a fusion of a bunch of things. You see, my problem is we've always tried to limit people, okay? But instead of, you know, trying to pay attention to what they have and see their growth, their progression. The Lagoon of 2015 is not the Lagoon, you know, 2021. You know, there is he knew that he can, you know, put the melodies, he can do this and that. So he knew what to package. Look at,
bro, you know what I think it is? You know what I think it is, bro? I think that sometimes us as audience members, as people who just love good music, we look at the game and we think that the thing that people in the music business value the most is good music, right? So we assume that, okay, me, I'm just looking for the newest, freshest, most interesting sounds. And surely the people who are the DJs, who are the radio station programming managers, who are the gatekeepers.
On another way.
We assume they just want good music, but no, we don't realize like, bro, these are people who are in business now, you know? It's about making money and it's about power. And I don't even mean that as a hit on anyone at all. Like, we're all trying to make money and gain power and like provide for our families and have some stability in this life, right? But you don't realize that if you as a person have set up your business structure, right? And you have your partners who you work well with, you have your way of doing things that works well for you, it's not in your best interests to change that. You know what I mean? So I feel like we always have disruptors coming in the game who want to do a different style of music, who want to do things differently, and they get blocked and you're like, but why? The music is good. It's not about the music even, you know? It's about the power that these gatekeepers see that they can get from this situation. So if you're able to break the cycle and introduce something to the masses and to the audience that they enjoy, and that these festival organizers, these general industry people see as something that has numbers, that has potential to bring money, that's when they start making a change. That's when they start making a wave. But us as music lovers, we look at it and we're like, you know, it's about the music. Nah, bro, it's not about the music. The music is just a part of the whole machine and the whole structure.
Yeah, that's true. So it's funny we did not do the introductions.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't, bro. Take it away, please.
All right, what's up, people? It's the New Live podcast hosted by yours truly, Nuve Sean, or New Version, depending on how you say. Sean, your host, co-founder. I'm co-founding my own self. Founder Nuve Live. .org. And I do have Malcolm Benjamino on the pod. I don't know what episode this is, but I would like to call it the Malcolm guy episode.
Peter, that Malcolm guy.
Yeah, so man,
what's up, man?
That Malcolm guy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So we quickly jumped into a conversation, about the soundscape and all that, which is interesting. But I wouldn't want us to also, forget to talk about part of the reason why you're on.
Right.
Formerly known as Mankwa. Did I say that right?
Man. Mr. Mankwa, yeah. That's right.
Mr. Mankwa.
I used to go by Mr. Mankwa. Now I go by that Malcolm guy. In 2-3 years, we shall see.
You might combine the two.
Man, that Mankwa guy.
It was the hard guy, right?
Bro, I've been, my biggest objective right now, I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to make a big splash. But for me, a big like benchmark or a big like KPI would be seeing that Mr. Mankwa is not forgotten, but that Mr. Mankwa recedes to the background and that Malcolm guy becomes the entity that people know brought them Mr. Mankwa, becomes the entity that people know brought them all these different things. Because I think that was the point, is just not dying in the character, but kind of going back to who I am and saying, okay, no, actually, I'm the source of all this stuff. So let me make all this stuff come from the source rather than from this limited character. But Mr. Mankwa, bro, he's his own guy, He's his own guy, he has his own story, he comes from where he comes from, and he's not me. But he was a fun guy. That's one thing I have to say about him, bro. That guy brought a vibe, Even when guys didn't know what he was saying, even guys didn't know what was going on, there were no lyrics, but it was fun, bro. And I guess definitely a big part of what I'm trying to do now is trying to find also the things about that time that were great, that were fun, that motivated me to keep doing what I was doing, that got people to come through to shows and performances and whatnot. Because a lot of people still do call me Mr. Mankwa. They still do remember that whole period of time. And I think I've been trying to remodel and rebrand, but also I'm not going to throw that baby out with the bathwater, Mr. Mankwa did some good work, bro. Shout outs, big ups.
So we definitely have to say he actually inspired the current guy right now, that Malcolm guy.
100%, man, 100%. I wouldn't be here without Mr. Mankwa, man. Like, don't get it twisted. I should never become so big that I forget who put me on.
you know how you say it is like some different individual, but it's one and the same.
Bro. He's a whole other guy. You know what I mean? Like, and I think even to do that character justice, right? I had to divorce him from myself and be like, no, that's who that guy is, He's a guy who, he had a hard life coming up. He was still struggling while he was making music. His whole story was he was a guy from the 90s in the same WhatsApp group as Emperor Orlando and Raga D and Rasta Rob and like, some of those guys who I feel like, bro, we don't remember them or give them as much love as I think we should right now, because they're such a big part of making us who we are right now as a Ugandan music industry, But because we don't record very well, we don't archive things very well, there's not a documentary about those guys, not a movie about those guys. They come and go, Musicians come and go, bro. And I think I'm also, part of my anxiety as an artist is like, bro, I never want to be one of those people who comes, they do their thing, and then they go. And then guys are like, what happened to Mr. Mankwa? What happened to that Malcolm guy?
You shouldn't have any worries, because this platform is there to archive this kind of story. I've done interviews with Lil Koji. Very few people are actually aware of that, but that's like way back, 2016. Right. When you start doing your research, you find these things like, so Nuve has been there like for all these years. That's why
Oh.
earlier on, before we hit the pod, we're just having the conversation, and you were like, dude, you look younger, but the info you do have, that's the thing, platforms are being
You're an
set
old
up
guy. You've been
early.
in the game, bro. You're old in the game, man. If you count age
I,
by
I
how long you've
remember,
been in the game, I'm a baby, bro.
yeah,
You're an
exactly.
old guy out here right now. You're at least in P2.
I was I met the myth at
Yeah.
this recent MTN thing, the award.
Right.
I met him, so we're having a conversation, and via social media, he saw me share some old post of his for an event around 2011, and he's like, "Man, that was crazy seeing that. Like all these years, you've been around and all."
Bruh.
I'm like, yeah, as we grow, as you get the access, you get the resources, definitely.
Yeah.
You know.
Sean, you're going to
So
make a
that's the
crazy
thing.
documentary about this game, by the way. The way I'm seeing you, you have too much material,
Def-
bro. You're going to make a crazy documentary about this game when you get annoyed. You just need to get annoyed one day.
I'll sell it expensively.
Bro, I hope I'm just a part of it somehow, man. Somehow, some way, because that's my passion as well, bro. Like, as a storyteller, I make music, but I also see this thing as being part of a bigger storytelling project. You know what I mean? Like, you might go out and make a song about partying and going out on a Friday night, whatever, and people might think it's just a shallow thing, But I feel like it's such a big part of telling the story of where we're at right now as people, as young people, as Ugandans, as what. That's where we're at, It's like a time capsule. It's like going back to the 60s and getting like an old like Eklas Kawalia song and like putting some platform shoes in a time capsule and saying that's what that was. Even now, we're still telling stories, bro. Even if it feels like vibes and it feels like, oh, guys are just having a good time singing about Waraji. It's still storytelling, creating that world.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. And you see the sound, this culture, how can dates the times, right? To date, not to make stuff old, but in the sense of, it tells when you go back to listen to a certain sound, you can tell a certain era,
Yeah, man.
And part of the lifeline of Nuve Live is that I intend to narrate rather than, put out content anyhowly. Content doesn't come out the way people expect it. We have to tell the story. And part of my interest is really in the storytelling.
Right, man. And I think before I fully embraced that I was making music, I was a filmmaker. I was doing Mr. Manko as part of a film project, as part of like an all-round 3D experience. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to watch the documentary on YouTube, but also you're going to watch a show when you go out on the weekend, and you're going to actually experience Mr. Manko in the flesh, You're going to listen to the music, you're going to... And I think that's a big part of how I think and how I create is it can't just be one song that you put out and throw away. Like, it has to be part of something. It has to be bigger than itself it has to carry an idea. No worries, man. This is part two like a Nigeria. Part two like a Nigeria.
Nice. Right. So we should be, exploring, about your music and other things.
Right.
In my other life, I do teach, so I have some Zoom thingy at around too.
Okay, no worries. We can wrap it up by
then. Most guys ask me, man, why do you keep doing so many things, I tell them, man, that's how you survive in this Uganda.
That's true, man. Multiple streams. I hope you're getting those multiple streams, bro. You have multiple Zooms, but I hope they're bringing in some multiple streams.
Yeah, man, and that's where the bag is.
Yeah, man, 100%.
The most secure bag. So let's dive into this. You were telling me about you telling stories. You're a filmmaker, and I think my review for the previous song, the Seikao song. It's a whole movie. It's a whole movie right there.
That's my comfort zone, man. Making movies, I'm so much more comfortable there than I am making music. But I also really, really enjoy the challenge of that, of like going back to a place of learning, going back to a place of being humbled by the craft, There are no shortcuts. You just have to stick through it, learn it, do it, fail at it, and just keep going, and just keep getting better at it.
So you write and shoot the films. Basically, most of your videos are actually movies. I do have a film background, by the way. I write scripts. I do write scripts.
Nice.
Because I studied script writing, at uni, part of my course. And how I looked at your work, it's progressional. You can tell that this video, even if it's a music video, it's more than just a music video. It's a short film.
Yeah, man. And I think something that I've been trying to do, at least that I tried to do with the retouch music videos, was to make music videos that were not the song. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you see a video, and in the music, I'm saying, why did you do that to me? And then you see what they did to them, and like everything is exactly the way that it seems. And I think something that I tried to do was to take the music and listen to it as if I'm not the one who made the music, and just think, okay, what would make a cool video for this kind of sound, for this? How can we twist even the few things we hear in the narrative to create a whole new narrative, so that if you watch the video separately and you listen to the music separately, you're getting very different things. But when you put them together, it's like 1 + 1 = 3, You're getting very, like, a different compound experience out of it. Because Sirikawo, I'll give you an example. Sirikawo is about, like, the song itself is about, like, us as young people fighting for power, Us as young people in the industry specifically. My verse is Silsawa Doubt and Silsawa Hater, Askari in our gatekeeper. And it's like the gatekeepers and the Askaris are definitely the gatekeepers in the game, They are the people that
Babuzani Sati.
Gatekeeper, but lemesi kwepena mweso dulu mabozi bulamu bwaffe babuzanya chanisi kwiso pado ludo chanisi warning card game finish place up the place like you never expected. And it's like, yeah, bro, like as young people, you come in and you realize that there are people who have power in this thing who are not just going to give it to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not just going to give it to you because you're talented or because you're good at what you do or because they just love good music, blah, blah, blah. Like, they have what we want, and it's going to be very important that we figure out how to either fight for it or negotiate it, but generally go for it, But then the music ended up being about like a monster story, a monster story that like vaguely referenced some of the conspiracy theories that were going around at that time. This is just after we had our election. This is deep within Corona times. All over WhatsApp, you keep seeing and hearing things and you don't know what to believe, what's real and what's not. So we told a story about, like, man, what's it like when there's so many lies going around that you don't know what's real and what's true, so that even if there's a real danger, you actually aren't able to be prepared for it, because you just keep being bombarded with all this wild stuff on social media and on WhatsApp, and you just become numb to it. But when there's something real to actually be worried about, you're completely unprepared. So they're different stories, but they kind of really come together when you watch the music video, and you have a very different experience.
You are actually just one of the unique people out there, because I feel like you having the skills to make films and better places to make a difference. I just tried to check out the stats for your Mike, the Mr. Mankwa. There is that other one.
Yeah.
In the retouch series, I forget. It's
Feedback.
over, I think. Yeah, feedback. It's like 60,000.
That's right.
So I feel. Do you think the storytelling as a visual artist helps you better market yourself? Have you thought about tapping into the storytelling visually to market yourself out there?
Right. Yeah, man, I'm fully embracing it now. I was a bit shy about it at some point, but I'm fully embracing it now, dog. Like, it's something that I've realized. You know that thing that we were talking about earlier of how you remember things and how you archive things and how you keep things kind of in a place where they can be referenced. I'm now starting to see that visuals are such a big part of that in music, Like, the song can come and go, but if there is a strong visual attached to it, it makes it easy for people to attach a memory to the song, to attach an emotion to the song. And that's a thing that I have as a very strong, that's a strong part of my arsenal, And I think in wanting to grow as a musician, initially I was very hesitant to overuse it because I felt like I don't want it to distract from the music. I want to be respected as a musician. But I'm honestly in a place in my life now where I'm a lot more pragmatic about things. I'm a lot more pragmatic and less romantic, man. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do to get ahead, because nobody cares. Like, the thing about artists sometimes is like, you're so stuck in your own head and so aware of your own process and of what you're doing that you don't realize how little like mind share you actually occupy people's minds and how little they care. You know what I mean? How little they follow the very specifics of what you might be doing and blah, blah, blah. Like, if they don't see you, they don't think of you. They have to see you to think of you and to care. They have to keep seeing you to a point where it's almost inevitable for them to be like, okay, this is someone that matters, So I think I'm now using the visual side as something where I'm like, okay, I'm going to use all the tools that I have at my disposal to carry my message, to carry who I am as an artist and to get myself out there. And yeah, for sure, right now we're in a place where when you watch many of our music videos on TV and everywhere else, many of them are not that. Many of them are a lot more aesthetically driven, put me in a nice surrounding with nice wardrobe and with some beautiful people partying, shaking their bums and having a good time, and give it some good color, give it some good, you know what I mean? Create like maybe 2-3 different settings for those, like for the different verses and whatnot, and that's your video. And as an artist, you might look at that and you might say, boa. But as a person who knows that this is a business and knows that this is like, the people who run this thing are not the most creative people. They just want to make a buck. You realize, okay, having something that looks like something familiar is very advantageous, actually. So for me, my storytelling, my story-driven videos are good. But then I also recognize that I need to combine them with something else in order to meet the industry halfway. I'll put it like that. In order for it to be on NBS and for people to be like, yeah, sure, that's a music video. It's different, but it's a music video. I recognize that as a music video.
All right. So,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I get you. So, in besides the music, you're actually making movies. In summary.
Yeah, man. That's the plan. And I've been thinking like maybe I make either or I make or. And I was wondering, how am I going to stagger it up and give both enough time? But man, the more I make these music videos, the more I realize like there's not a very big gap between those things, There is a way that those things can actually manifest into a massive thing. And what is that massive thing, bro? I can't even tell you right now. But I know that making music makes my movies better, and also making movies in some way improves on my music.
Right. So someone might be wondering how long you've been around. And the conversation we had earlier on, I feel like you've been around for like what, 10, 5? Tell me about it.
I think I've been around. I've been making music since 2017, 2018. So that's that's about 4 years now. I'd say I'm about 4 years into the game right now. Um, 2 of those 4 years, I can't even say, 3 of those 4 years, I can't say that I was taking being a musician as seriously as I am right now. I was doing everything else. And I think the music was even like a tool for these other things. But over the last year, bro, is the time that I've been like, how am I building myself as a musician? How am I building this thing that I'm doing as a musician to get me to where I want to get to, Not just with music as a side thing, but with music being actually a primary driver of that, of my message of what I want to put out there. Because I remember reading something years ago about Kanye, right? And Kanye West said something to the effect of like, bro, I could have been any kind of artist, The gifts that I have within me, I could have been any kind of artist. I could have done so many things, but then he realized that the best way to communicate to the homies is by making something that they can play in the car. You know what I mean? Making something that they'll listen to when they're out, making something that's generally a part of people's lives, not making a piece of art that like exists in a museum and you have to go to the museum to like experience it, but like making art that's an actual part and parcel of people's lives, And I think that's, for me, that's now my focus right now, is saying like, okay, to have the most impact that I want to have, music is actually one of the biggest ways that I can do it. One of the best ways that I can express my artistry, one of the best ways that I can get to where I'm trying to get to. And yeah, and I think even in trying to make the kind of music that I'm trying to make, it's in figuring that thing out. How do I make work that resonates with people on a level that's so personal that it becomes part of their lives, it becomes part of them getting ready to go out, dancing in the club, going to work in the morning, just going through a tough time and like putting on some headphones on a Sunday. That's the vision.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like Kanye is your guy, right?
Kanye is my favorite artist. Kanye is my favorite artist, hands down, in everything. Like even.
Well, what about down?
What about?
I think I got you. What about down here?
In this UG?
Yeah.
In this UG, bro, I love different people for different things, man. We've been talking about Fikfa Maker, and he's genuinely one of my favorite artists because I feel like he keeps things very simple, but he's very, very effective in how he communicates and how he tells a story. But I also feel like the things that he finds funny, like, you can tell when someone is rapping and they find a thing interesting and they make a connection. I'm like, yeah, we find the same things funny about this Ugandan experience, about this thing that we do, man. I think growing up, I used to look up to the likes of Navio and The Myth as artists that I wanted to emulate, because the people who did their thing in English, which is the language I'm most comfortable with. They are guys who, yeah, but man, as time goes on, I start looking abroad and I start seeing, and abroad, I mean, even within this UG, bro, I start looking at a guy like Bobby Wine, the way that he built up his like infrastructure and his empire. That's something that I really, really admire, the way that he tapped into kind of where we are now and who we are as Ugandans and what our structures are, and just figured out, okay, cool, this is how you move, this is how you operate. Yeah, bro, those are people that I admire, that I think I build what I'm trying to do on. I really love Munji as well. I love Epas. I love Munji particularly because he's funny, Like, life is not that serious. You can tell when you listen to his music that he has fun making it. And that's something that people have told me about my own music, that you can tell when someone is just enjoying doing what they're doing. They're making a serious thing, but they're just really enjoying what they're doing.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you actually spoke about it. I was going to talk about the humor that you try to
Right.
incorporate the way you write.
Right.
Sometimes it makes the most serious of things seem a little bit light, even if it's painful. I think we
Yeah.
call that grim humor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Now,
And
yeah.
that thing is for me, like, as Ugandans, right, bro? Uganda is not an easy place to live. It's not an easy place to thrive and to get ahead. There's so many things that go wrong all the time. But Ugandans always make it work, you know? And that's the thing that I think really defines us in the world. Apart from enjoyment and party, our resilience and our ability to make the most out of a bad situation, our ability to turn the grimmest situation into a joke, you know, to turn it into a moment that we can laugh about and hopefully move on. Because, man, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry, you know? And I think that's something that really defines us as Ugandans and defines our culture. And that's something that I'm glad people are kind of picking up on in my music. The idea that, bro, even when you're talking about the the grimmest thing, there's still something hilarious about it. There's still something ironic about it. There's still something that is not even funny because it's good, but it's funny because, man, God and the universe ultimately has a sense of humor, and I think being a Ugandan is one of the funniest things of all time.
Speaking about humor on your pack, your new a humorous person on your latest project.
Right. Yeah, you're asking me about the Parte Pack. What about it, man?
Yeah, the Parte Pack. You were talking about being, funny and then having funny guys who you look up to. Sense you having, Daniel Omara on your Parte Pack. Talk about it.
Right, that's my boy, man. That's my boy right there. Daniel, that song was actually Daniel's idea, man. Daniel's the one who was like, bro, I want someone to make a song called Labawaraji. And I was like, what? And he was like, man, I have some friends who are musicians, and like I approached them and I was like, bro, you guys should just make a song called Labawaraji because that phrase is just so funny. And he said it to me, and I was like, bro, first of all, I get where you're coming from, because even me, I'm that guy who, like, Sean, I swear, one day I'm going to call you in the middle of the night and just say, Sean, you know what you should do? To start a platform that does me. Because sometimes I just be getting ideas that I'm like, I don't think I'm the most equipped person to execute that idea, but it's a cool idea and I want it to exist in the world, you know? And I think that's why I also make some of the things that I make, because I'm like, bro, I want to dance to like a new version of Eno Mike in the club. You know what I mean? I want to dance to a version of Eno Mike that is like, that sounds current, that sounds hard and gritty and dark and like, you know, but still has that vibe. So let's make it. And yeah, Laboratory was the same thing, bro. Daniel said he wanted that song to exist. I said, say no more, say less. I'll get back to you. And yeah, I got back to him like maybe a month, maybe even 2 months later, with a track that I made with my friends. I work very closely with my boys, Alim Kamali and Wana. Wana is a DJ, a producer, and he makes most of the music that you hear coming from me over the last year or so has been produced by Wana and Alim. They have been in the room. And bro, those guys are because they're my best friends, they're my colleagues, they're my homies. Very often the mood of making music comes from a place of, yeah, this is just making fun, bro. You know what I mean? We'll be talking in the studio and someone will say something funny and I'll say, fuck, okay, cool. That's a great line. That's a great buff or something. Or that's a great idea, you know? I remember with Eno Mike, one had just made the beat. We had just found the sample, and then he had added some drums and some bass to the beat and created the Eno Mike loop, right? So he played it on the studio speakers, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And bro, like me, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. One time, that thing touched me so deeply. Like the first thing that my gut reaction was, Jesus Christ. And he said, on a wooden bicycle? And I was like, blessings, let's go, run it. Because I think also, like, it depends on who you are as a person. You know, me, when I hear something like that, I don't hear, oh, that's ridiculous. That's something, you know, your school teacher might have said at some point. I'm like, that's us, bro. You know, as Ugandans, and as people, I know everyone will recognize that immediately. And for me, that's where the value is, you know, is in finding those things about us that we actually don't even commonly acknowledge to each other, but we all know, you know. On Torero Flow, when you hear sauce potato chip, sauce potato chip, 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 sauce potato chip, like if you've grown up in this UG, you know that thing, you know what I mean? And like for me, that's where I find the most satisfaction in doing this music thing, in taking those things that I love, that I know, that I think make us very distinctly us as Ugandans, and framing them and making them important and putting them, you know what I mean? I think if you put something in your work, you've framed it and you said that thing matters.
True.
Yeah.
And at the moment right now, Shaq Kuchi, I don't know why I like I don't know why I like it, but you know how you be singing and all that. It's catchy and it's, I don't know. I'm still listening.
Blessings,
One
bro.
of my
Blessings.
favorites. It's one of my favorites, and Daniel's verse, given that I speak the same language, so he hit home.
Oh, you understood what you were saying, right?
I beg your pardon?
You understood what you were saying, right?
Every word, bro. He was making Blue great again.
I did not, bro. Because, you know, we got into studio together. We had a whole, like, Daniel kept saying this thing of, man, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a rapper. But he's rapped before, you know? So we get together and we try to do some writing. And we first wrote something. He first wrote something in English, right? And he was like, yeah, I think it's, but he wasn't feeling it. So while we were like, he was like, bro, let me try this thing in Luo, right? Let me try this thing in Lango. Let's see how it goes. And bro, it was fantastic. He built it right there on the spot. He did very little writing. It just came from, a lot of it came from memories and from whatever. He ran that thing and he explained to me what some of the lines were, but the rest was like, bro, man, I trust you, man. Even if you abuse me on that track, it's kawa, bro. This thing sounds like, it sounds like you're really enjoying it.
It's a dope project. All right. I mean, it's a decent project, dope project. Put you in the mood. I'll be spinning it at least every time I want to, you know, to vibe out. Even when I'm not in the mood to vibe out, it's just good mood. And like I've said, Chef Kuchi and that Labawardi joint are some of my favorites. So just know that at least. Anyhow,
those favorites have changed, eh? I'll know you're really listening to the project.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, and also the project you have with LG, you know.
Right.
I actually didn't realize LG was on there.
Right, bro.
The way it joined. I didn't realize LG was on there.
LG made that song happen, bro. Like the way we met was very, very quick and sudden. Like there's some things that you just feel are very guided, you know? You just feel very guided and meant to be somehow, bro. Like we started talking within like a few days, we were in studio together, and man, LG walks in, power goes. Power goes. There's no, we have like, we paid for like 1 day at the studio, power went. We had until like 6 o'clock. We had until 5 to get borders because it's still curfew time. And power came back at like 4:30, you guys. But during that time, bro, like we really like got to know each other well on a musical level, on a personal level, did some good team building. And yeah, man, Wet is one of people's favorite songs, one of a lot of people's favorite songs on that project. And yeah, man, big up LG, bro. Big up LG for making that happen. He produced it. He helped write the song. His features on it. It's yeah. That was really an experience. The first of many.
Shout out, shout out to him.
Big up LG.
Now, Malcolm, we've come to the end of the pod. I know that the conversations cannot stop. There is plenty more to talk about. At least I'm glad I've had you on the pod for you to share your work, your views, and the current project. People should go out and stream Parte Pack. It's out there.
Yeah,
Five joints onto there. Thank you for sparing the time. We'll definitely catch up on the next project, probably, or even other conversations.
For sure, bro. Thank you so much for having me, my guy. This has been a really good time. And yeah, man, let's do this again soon.
All right. Been Nuvesh for the Nouvelle Live podcast, and we out. Don't forget to subscribe, to the podcast wherever you get the podcast, Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, wherever you can always get them. The Nouvelle Live podcast, and I'm out. For anything more, you can check out nouvelive.org. Nouvelle Live is NUVEYLIVE.org. So see you. Thanks, Malcolm, for the time.
Blessings, my guy. Big up, my G. Doing what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. See you then.